Hello guys, my name is Shane, and welcome to the very first Roblox tutorials with Shane. And this is actually going to be the very first episode in 2018, which is actually pretty awesome. Happy New Year to every single one of you out there. It's been an amazing year in 2017, of course. Maybe a few errors, maybe a few problems, but otherwise 2017 has been an amazing year for me. But without further ado, today I'm going to teach you guys how to make Roblox GFX using Blender rendering and of course making it look absolutely amazing. And basically in this tutorial you will not need anything complex like extra photoshopping or anything that's, you know, out of your mind that you kind of don't really have or don't really use. But without further ado, let me introduce you to what we're going to be using for this tutorial right now. So we're going to be using 3 different softwares in order to compose our graphics. And basically the first one that we're going to use is we're going to use the simple Roblox Studio. And what we're going to use Roblox Studio for is we're going to allow ourselves to use that program to position our character and to obviously get our character in order to, you know, import it into Blender and then obviously render it from there. But that's all we're going to use Roblox Studio for. The next application we're also going to be using is obviously going to be Blender, which is going to allow us to perfect our render and is obviously going to make our character look absolutely amazing. Obviously I'm going to show you guys how to use it because it may be a little complicated at first to use it, but with my help we can accomplish anything. And the third software we're going to be using for this video, sorry about that bowl over there. And the third software we're going to be using for this video is going to be Photoshop or Paint.net. Doesn't really matter which software you want to use or which one you prefer. Both are really good and both will help us obviously compose what we need to compose in the end. But without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to open Roblox Studio and we're going to begin our Roblox GFX tutorial. So, with Roblox Studio opening up, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we select new and then all templates. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go and create a new base plate. And basically this is going to be our grounds to allow us to import our character and then of course further edit our character with R15. So, obviously what we need to do first is we're going to spawn our character and then we're going to copy our character and paste it in workspace so that we can further edit it. And the way we can do that is by hitting the play button right up here, and then obviously your character is going to spawn. You can just click the little arrow on workspace and then right click on your character, hit copy, and then you can just press stop. And then again right click on workspace, and then to paste your character in, all you gotta do is you just press paste into, and then your character will be right there. Pretty easy, pretty simple. But if you wanted to do someone else, let's say I wanted to do one of my friends, what we're going to do is we're again going to hit play, and then obviously our character is going to again spawn into the game, but instead we're gonna go to players and we're gonna click my name right here, and then what you would do is you would go to this character appearance ID and then you would basically change the ID to whatever user you wanted to. All you really need to do in order to find the user ID of the character you want to is to basically look up at the link of the site of whoever you're searching up, and basically you just highlight the big number right there and then obviously copy it into the character appearance ID. You would be able to reset your character. Of course, I'm not going to demonstrate it, but once you would reset your character would be a completely different person. Obviously, the person that you intend to edit. But we're not going to be doing that. So what I'm just going to do again is I'm just going to copy my character, we're going to press stop, and I'm just going to paste it into again. And then what we're going to do is, because my character is R15, again, make sure your character is on R15 because this is how we're going to edit the position of our character. But if you don't want your character to be R15, all you can do is you can just watch another tutorial that I'll be making very soon. And that one's basically just going to be R6 GFX. Of course, bending the limbs and whatnot. But what we're going to do quickly is we're just going to go to this plugin section right here, and we're going to select Animation Editor. And then it's going to tell us to select a rig to animate. And you see this little circle, no, you see this little rectangle right here? What we're going to do is we're going to click that, and we're just going to press select. And then we're going to also anchor it because obviously Roblox tells us to do that. So now we have our character. We have our character selected, and now what we can do is we can actually edit the position of our character. Now personally, what I like to do is I like to visualize what I want my character to look like in his final position, and then I'll kind of, you know, give the position of my character after that. And basically what I want my character to look like, I don't know, maybe we can turn it around on an angle, maybe turn his head, turn his head a little bit this way. Maybe we can select one of his hands and then, you know, put it like that, and then maybe a little bit forward. Basically, it's your freedom to choose whatever position you want your character to be in. It's totally up to you, whatever kind of design or whatever position modeling you're aiming for. Personally, in this GFX tutorial, I don't really have a preference, so I'm just gonna maybe bend a few limbs of my character, maybe do something like this. I don't know. Maybe we can just go over here and move this a little bit, and then select one of the character's legs. Sorry, it's a bit laggy, but we're just gonna do a quick positioning here. Obviously, you can take your time to position the character you want in any different way you like. But I think this is actually kind of good. I'm just gonna quickly position my character back the way it was before. There we go. So basically, once you're done positioning your character, again, take your time. Obviously, I did my character really quick because obviously I know exactly what I want to do, and then I just do it instantly. But please, when you're doing this kind of stuff, take your time, because it will look much better when you do so. But without further ado, we're going to take our character and we're going to import it into Blender now that we have the position that we want. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to select our character, and then we're going to right click on it. We're going to go all the way down to export selection, and then we're just going to give it a name. For example, I'm just going to name mine SheaYT, and then you just choose the folder you want to save it into, and then it's all good. And then we're basically just done with the studio. But there's a bit of troubleshooting that you guys may go through when you are editing your character in R15, specifically with the animation editor. Now, there have been times where I've accidentally exited my animation editor, and then my character would just go back to its original position, and then obviously I would freak out. Oh my gosh! I put so much work, I put so much effort into that. But no worries, you don't need to smash your computer. It's not over yet. The world's not over. Because to get the position you want back, all you really have to do is you just go back to the animation editor. Again, select the rig you're using, and then what you do is you go to File, and then you just load your character, automatic save, and then press load. And then your position will be right back the way it was right when you were editing it. And then you can just be happy and celebrate your day. Because honestly, it's not the end of the world if this does happen. So, now that we're done with the studio, what we're going to do is we're obviously going to open Blender. And of course, like I said before, Blender is basically going to be the rendering engine in order to make our character look as good and as smooth as possible that we're going to be using. So I'm just going to quickly open up Blender. Once you open Blender, you're going to get this view right here. By the way, Blender is a free program, and if you guys really want to get into GFX, I definitely recommend you guys get Blender for yourselves. There will actually be a link to their website down in the description below so that you can download Blender for yourselves and kind of, experiment and or watch other GFX tutorials like this one so that you guys can definitely have a lot of fun. But basically, again, once we open Blender, we're gonna see this cube right here in front of our way, and we're probably gonna be like, we don't really want this cube here. What is it doing here? Because obviously we're gonna try and put our character in there, and then the cube's still gonna be in there, and we're gonna be really angry. But it's a very simple thing to delete the cube. All you really have to do is you just press X, and then you press delete. It's a very easy and simple command whenever you're trying to delete anything you don't really want in your way. And that cube, we don't really need it. So, now that the cube is out of our way, we're going to try and load our character. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Import, and we're going to hit Wavefront OBJ. And then we're going to go to the Finder or file that we saved it in, and we're going to find whatever we saved it. For example, this is mine, so we're just going to double click, and obviously there it is. And obviously you're probably wondering how I'm moving right now, because obviously once you get into the program, you're obviously, I don't know how many times I gotta say obviously, you're probably going to have a hard time knowing how to move. Maybe you can zoom in and out if you have one of those things in the middle of your mouse. But in order to move around to see your character, you're gonna have to use a special command consisted of Shift and then F. And then you'll actually be able to move around and see your character in its full potential. And then to go faster, you just hold Shift while you're using the WASD keys in order to move around. And then when you've got the position that you're kind of happy with, you can just left click and then it'll be all back to normal, and then you can just move again, Shift F, click, move, click, it's all good. But basically once you've evaluated whatever position you want your view to be in, what we're going to do is we're going to position the camera. Now the camera is going to be the tool that we're going to use in order to make the final render of our character. It's basically just going to be the thing that captures our character and then allows it to be seen when it's finally rendered. And in order to select your camera, what we're going to have to do is we're going to go to View, Cameras, and then you're just going to hit Active Camera. And then you'll be able to, with hitting again Shift F, you'll be able to move around and you'll be able to look at your character. Now obviously I kind of want to scale my camera a little bit higher, and what we're going to do is we're just going to, scroll our mouse left and right according to the way and how much pixels we need in order to fully capture our character. In this case, I'm just going to type in 2000 and with 2000. Very easy, very simple, so that we can capture the full render of our character. But then we're kind of stuck in the camera. We don't exactly know how to get out of the camera, and we're kind of frustrated by that reason. Luckily, it's not the end of the world, and in order to get out of your camera, you can just, again, go to Cameras, hit Active Camera again, and you will be out of your camera. And if you select a certain setting, you'll also be able to hit number pad 0 in order to go in and out of your camera. This would be very useful if you kind of want to go right there and then you want to go in your camera. Maybe you want to see your character this way and then you want to go to your camera again. It's a pretty awesome tool. But I'm just going to go back to my camera so that I can obviously see my character much easier. But now our character is still looking gray. Not blue, but gray instead. And obviously we're probably really frustrated with this. When we hit the render button, it looks ugly, and apparently my Blender crashed. That's how ugly it is. Looks like I gotta restart this. Okay, I'm so sorry guys about that. Apparently when I tried to render my character, it glitched and it crashed on me. Literally broke my whole computer and I had to restart the whole freaking program. But basically, obviously, basically, our character is gray. And we don't like it. We don't like how our character is gray and we want to see the textures on our character. But we're kind of bored. Now before we put the textures on our character, to make sure that my Blender doesn't crash again, what we're going to do is we're going to change from Blender render to Cycles render. And Cycles render is way better than the Blender rendering engine. Basically, this engine is like 20 times better than the Blender render engine, because the Blender render engine had not been updated for almost like, I don't know, like 20 years or some crap like that. And Cycles renders, it's being updated all the time and it makes your character look a lot better, a lot smoother, and I'll show you why once we're done the final sample. But without further ado, we're probably still looking for the textures and we're probably clicking this thing right here that of course I clicked right when it crashed, and we're probably gonna click texture because we think, oh, but it's still not there. It's still not there. That's because when we change from Blender render to Cycles render, our character loses all its textures. But fear not, if we select one of the parts of our character, for example, I selected the torso, and then we go to this little material spear shaped icon. If we go to use notes, and then we click this little dot next to color, and then we hit image texture, and then we find the texture that we need. For example, this texture right here is the texture that matches my body. So we're just, oh, okay, apparently not. That's the one, that's the one. You need to make sure that you select the right textures, and sometimes you'll have a little bit more textures than you need to. For example, these are for my antlers and this one's for my hat. But basically what we're going to do is we're just going to import all of our textures by clicking use notes and then color, the little dot next to it, image texture, find the image texture that you need. For example, mine is the timeless top hat, so we're just going to click that, and then it will not work because that's the wrong texture. There it is. That's the texture I'm looking for. And we're basically just going to quickly do this to all of our hats so that we can see all the textures that we need to see. And I'll just quickly do that. Image texture, and then you select the texture, and then once you have all your textures on your character, now when we click render, it looks not that bad actually. As you can see, it's taking a little bit for it to render because I'm recording again. That takes up a little bit of RAM. Make sure you have a considerate amount of memory in your computer before you do this kind of stuff, because trust me, it will crash. But as you can see, the picture is really dark and you're kind of upset. I mean, it looks good. Like, look at that. Holy cow. It's pretty perfect render, but then once we render it, it's like all dark and all crappy, and we don't like that. So in order to fix this, we're going to do a few things. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to enter out of this rendering thing right here, which is basically the UV image editor. Both of them are the same thing, and in order to get back into our 3D view, all we're just going to do is click this. And if we want to look at our render again, we just go to this UV/image editor, and then we can also look at our render again. So it's just two simple things. If you want to go back and forth, oh, that's not what I was looking for. You can do that as much as you want. But what we're going to do is we're going to click this little earth icon right here, and we're going to again not click use notes this time because we don't really need anything there, but instead we're going to click ambient occlusion. We're just going to check that. Don't really need to change anything, and we're just going to click the environment, not click it, but change the color of it to make it a little bit lighter. For example, I kind of like it like that. So you can just change it, change the color of it a little bit upward. It kind of just gives a little bit brightness. It gives a little bit more brightness, if I can actually say that. But that's basically what that does. And then if we hit render, it'll look amazing. It'll look absolutely amazing. And you can actually do stuff like this really, really quickly too. It doesn't take a lot of time. All you gotta do is you just render, enter the settings, and you're really good to go. Like, look at how awesome that looks. But then we're wondering, while this thing is rendering, there's a background on the image. I don't exactly want a background on my image. You said this was not for Photoshop, and we have to select the image and then like take it out in order to make it transparent. Well, luckily, I'm not going to make your day any harder. But basically, what we're going to do is we're just going to go back to 3D view, and to make the render transparent, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to film, this thingy right here. We're going to open it up. If it's closed, it should be open. And then we're going to hit transparent. And then when we hit render, the image will be completely transparent. And when you go into paint.net or Photoshop and you kind of want to resize, make it into a profile picture, something like that, it obviously will not be as hard as it's supposed to be. But then again, by hitting the right settings and making sure that you're doing everything that you need to, following every single step in this tutorial, you will be able to create something really, really outstanding like this. And compared to many other Blender renders out there, something like this with the Cycles rendering engine is a lot better and a lot easier, and it looks way better. Like way, way, way better. Like, you can see how clear the shadows are. It's not fuzzy. It's really, really good looking. And this is something that I figured out with a bit of practice and a bit of time with the Blender engine. It's really, really interesting how you can experiment with Blender, and you can do so many different things with it, including create amazing looking Roblox GFX. But now we're kind of happy with this render, and we kind of want to save it and obviously edit further on. And in order to do that, all we're just going to do is we're going to hit image. We're just going to hit save as image. We're going to name it whatever we want. I'm just going to name it something absolutely random. And then we can just select the folder that we want to save it in. I'm just going to save it in my Cycles render, and then I'll just save it as an image. And now, it's basically up to you, whatever you want to do with it in paint.net or Photoshop. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open Photoshop, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a quick tutorial on what I would personally do with something like this in order to make it into a profile picture. So with Photoshop CS6 opened, obviously I don't expect a lot of people to have Adobe Photoshop CS6. If you do have it, that would be really awesome because you could do exactly what I'm about to do. But if you have anything else like paint.net, don't worry, it's still really easy to do what I'm about to do. Nothing too hard, nothing out of this world. It's very simple and it's very easy to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly go up to File and we're going to click New. And once we click New, we're just going to select how many pixels, ratio, whatever we need. For example, I'm just going to do a 2000 by 2000 pixel ratio. And it should look something like this. Now in paint.net or whatever program you're using, hopefully it can do the same thing. But basically, 2000 by 2000 is a really high quality picture, so if you want to make it a little bit less, you can. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly import my picture, and I'll do that really quickly. Just give me a second. Takes a little bit of time. There we go. Whoops, gotta blur everything you're seeing. It's okay, it's all good. There we go. So I basically just selected the render and I basically just imported it in. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to rasterize this layer because I don't really want it to be a smart object. And I'm just going to size it by holding shift while I am sizing it. Again, you're probably wondering how you get these little things on the sides here. All you do is you just click show transform tools, or transform controls as it says. And then we can just left click, hold shift while we're doing so, and then we can just make it a lot bigger. And then we can hit check to whatever size we want it as. For example, I like that. We're just going to create a new layer, and we're going to put it under, and we're just going to select the paint tool. Again, it'll probably be the gradient tool. All you just need to do is right click, and then you just press the paint bucket tool. And then we just color it in just like that, and I'll color it whatever I want. Again, by right clicking, going into blending options, color overlay, and I'm just going to make it a white color. And then we'll just press OK, OK. And then we'll just select this layer right here, right click, blending options. We'll go down to drop shadow, maybe put the distance a little bit, kind of like that. And then we'll size it, turn down the opacity. Make sure you guys control the opacity of shadows. It's a very important thing to do, especially if you're making things that are looking really good. And then just add a distance to it. We don't want too much shadow, just kind of enough to make it look good. And then, of course, we can just position it right in the middle. And then we're basically done. And then we can just go File, Save As, and then call it whatever the heck we want. In this case, we'll call it that. Some random alien English. Some random lettering that I have no idea what it is, but apparently it exists now. And then we just save it as a PNG by, again, just selecting this little thing here, going down to PNG, save it in the folder you want to save it in, and then we're practically done. And then we'll just select the PNG options that we need, and then you're basically done. And then once you're done your render and once you're done all the kind of stuff that you need to do, what we can do is we can just go to we can just Roblox, we can just quickly open up Roblox, and then of course we can just go to our groups, or I don't know, maybe go to our YouTube channel, and then we can obviously use the amazing new profile picture that we made by simply going to my channel and then obviously editing it there. But basically, that's all for this GFX tutorial. Basically, when you learn how to control something like Blender and to position your character in amazing ways with Roblox Studio, you can make absolutely amazing Roblox GFX. For example, this parkour thumbnail thingy was all made with the exact details that I gave you right there. It looks pretty good, it looks pretty amazing. Basically, I'm giving you the creativity and thought process that you guys need to use in order to create anything you guys really want to with Roblox GFX. And also, before we go, I just quickly want to bring up our new clothing group, Norse Flakes Clothing. You guys should join that group. It's a pretty awesome group. In this group, we basically make pretty original clothing. At the moment, we don't really have as much clothing, but we're thinking of definitely making this group an amazing group. So make sure you guys check it out. Buy the clothing there, support it,